Hello everyone, welcome back to Arpita ki NCERT Kaksha, wherein today we are going to study the last chapter of the class 11th NCERT political theory book. Now we know that we have to complete 4 NCERTs of Indian polity, and this is the last chapter of our first NCERT, that was political theory. Class 11th की जो NCERT थी उसका हम last chapter आज खत्म कर रहे हैं, and once this chapter is over, your political theory book will be completed. Alright, so far I have enjoyed this journey with all of you. I hope you also feel the same. But do not forget that just completing the reading of the book is not enough for you to clear the exam. The regular revision, the consistent revision is also very important. So make sure that you are revising the first, second, third, fourth, fifth and all the other chapters that we have completed so far. Take Saturday and Sunday as your revisionary day, okay, and within these 2 days complete this 9 chapters that we have covered. All right, so let's start with chapter development. So here today we will study what is development. We will study what are the problems in the existing models of development which are being currently used by developing countries, and we will study what can be the alternative models of development to be used by both developed and non-developed countries, right? तो हम करेंगे आज development क्या होता है, ठीक है, आप अभी जो हम डेवलपमेंट मॉडल कंट्रीज फॉलो कर रही हैं उसमें क्या कमियां हैं, क्या प्रॉब्लम्स हैं और इसकी बजाय सोल्यूशन क्या हो सकता है, ठीक है. So when we talk about development, the basic layman definition of development is an event constituting a new stage in a changing situation. That is development, or a similar word to development can be evolution also. Okay, so in basic layman की definition में we can say that development is the act or process or result of developing. It is the state of being developed, in a changed environment or changed situation. That can be the layman definition of development. And in Hindi, development means vikas. हिंदी में डेवलपमेंट का मतलब क्या होता है, विकास होता है. विकास मीन्स डेवलपमेंट इन हिंदी. ओके, तो ये तो हो गई बेसिक अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ डेवलपमेंट. ओके, नाउ व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट इन टर्म्स ऑफ पॉलिटी, जब हम पॉलिटी के टर्म्स में बात करते हैं, देन वी कैन से दैट डेवलपमेंट कन्वेज द आइडियाज ऑफ इम्प्रूवमेंट, और यू कैन से when we use the term progress, that means development. Okay, so it conveys the ideas of improvement, of progress, well-being and an aspiration for a better life, a desire for a better life. That is development. And currently in most of the developing nations, the model of development which is currently in use is narrow. ओके, अभी करंटली जो हम मॉडल ऑफ या मोड ऑफ डेवलपमेंट यूज कर रहे हैं डेवलपिंग नेशंस में, वो मॉडल थोड़ा सा नैरो है, वो डेफिनेशन थोड़ी सी नैरो है. Why? Because we measure currently development in the sense, from the parameter of increased rate of economic growth, or how modernized our society is, or if we have set some targets, if we are able to achieve those targets, we say that we are a developed nation. ठीक है, so that is wrong. This is a very narrower definition of development. When you measure development, on the basis of economic growth or modernization of society or achieving targets or completing projects, that does not say that everybody is equally being treated in the nation or everybody is reaping the equal benefits of development. अगर आप economic growth के basis पे development को rate करते हो, या आपकी society कितनी modernized है इस parameter पे development को rate करते हो, measure करते हो, या आपने कितने dam बना लिए, कितने hospital बना लिए, ये सोचकर आप बोलते हो कि हमारा nation तो developing nation है, तो आप गलत हो. क्योंकि आपको नहीं पता कि आप जो economic growth का इम्प्रूवमेंट दिखा रहे हो, या हॉस्पिटल्स बना दिए हैं, या फैक्ट्री सेटअप कर दी हैं, उसकी वजह से पॉवर्टी, अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट, हंगर जड़ से खत्म हो गई है, ये आप गारंटी नहीं कर सकते. Right, you cannot guarantee after creating hospitals that poverty has been eradicated. You cannot guarantee after increasing the rate of the growth of your economy that hunger or inequality have been eradicated. You cannot guarantee that. So this is a very narrower sense of development or the definition of development. Because in such kind of definitions, some sections benefit and some other people they suffer loss without getting any compensation also. Okay, so that is the narrower definition. Before moving ahead, here's a small announcement for all of you. If you're planning to prepare for UPSC CSE examination, here is your chance to participate in the mega extension offer which has been launched by Unacademy. Unacademy is giving you 3 months free extension, 6 months free access to Unacademy ka batches if you're taking a 12-month or 18-month subscription. If you're taking a 24 or 36-month subscription according to your attempt of UPSC, then Unacademy will also provide you 1 year free access to Unacademy Plus if you are not satisfied with your result. And all these benefits are only valid till 8th of July 2022. This is the code that you can use to get 10% discount on your Plus subscription, and for further details you can call on this number as well. So do not forget to be participant of to become a participant of this offer if you want to prepare for UPSC CSE under expert guidance. Let's move forward. आगे बढ़ते हैं. So when we talk about the concept of development, when did this concept start? This concept was basically adopted by most of the countries in Asia, Africa when they achieved independence from colonial rule, somewhere around 1950s to 1960s. When they achieved independence, when they were free from the from the British rule, they thought about this concept of development because the colonial rule already had destroyed most of the resources of these nations. And that is why, to make progress, to better the lives of its own citizens, these nations started adopting the concept of development. All right. And the most pressing or most challenging issues that these nations were facing were unemployment, illiteracy, hunger, malnourishment, poverty, right? These were the problems that these nations which were free from the colonial rule were facing. All right. And that is why they focused in the initial years to catch up with the West. The West means those nations who were highly developed at that time. So to catch up with those nations in terms of economic growth or in terms of modernization of society, the developing nations, started making their goals, or you can say setting their goals to faster economic growth through industrialization, through modernization of agriculture and education, etc. And to achieve their goals, they started taking loans from other developed nations. For example, Africa took huge amount of loan from China, and that is why right now it is under huge massive debt, right? So they started taking help from the developed nations, loans from the developed nations. For example, in India also, to after we got independence from 1950s, India also started framing 5-year plans. These were these 5-year plans are an example of narrow definition of development. ये जो 5-year plans है, ये narrow definition में आता है development के, because here you are thinking in terms of only economic growth, right? So under the 5-year plans, India focused on establishing mega projects like Bhakra Nangal Dam, steel plants, mining activities, fertilizer production, improving the agricultural techniques, etc. These were multi-pronged strategy, and these strategies, the aim of making these strategies or framing these strategies was to make a very long-lasting impact on economy, to increase the wealth of the country, to reduce the inequality in the nation. This was the motive behind formulating the 5-year plans. And that is why we also set up IITs, and we collaborated the IITs with advanced countries so that education could improve. And when education improves, human resources, it also increases. But Indian model of development, or same kind of development model adopted by other developing nations, was highly criticized. Why? Because the people who criticize, the philosophers or the thinkers who criticized this model of development, they said that it's very costly for the developing countries, because to adopt this kind of model of development, the countries have to take loans from developed nations. They have to take loans from long term, and because of those loans, they fall into a debt trap. For example, Africa, for example, Sri Lanka also. And it raises the social cost as well. Large number of people, they get displaced if a dam is being constructed. For example, in today's newspaper, we studied about the Chakma Hajong tribe. The Chakma Hajong tribe, why they were displaced? Because of the dam construction. Right? तो ये लोग बांग्लादेश से इंडिया में आ गए. They settled in Arunachal Pradesh, and when displacement happens, people lose their land, people lose their culture, their jobs, right? Their houses, they are removed from their houses. So all these activities, or you can say all these negative points, are a part of the current model of development that most of the nations are following. And we know that displacement results in loss of livelihood, increased in the impoverishment among the people, and their the traditional skills that the people have who have lost their lands, they also lose their traditional skills because they move to urban cities, and in the urban cities the tribal skills or the traditional local skills are not used. They you lose their culture also. And because of all these problems, these people start to struggle in the nations, right? For example, same the Narmada Bachao Andolan, there is a movement going on against the Sardar Sarovar dam construction on the river Narmada. The people who are participant of the Narmada Bachao Andolan, they say that 1 million people have been displaced because of this construction of dam, and they have lost their lands, right? And the construction of dam is also disturbing the ecological balance. It is environmentally wrong. But the people who are in support of the Sardar Sarovar dam, they say that this dam will help in generating electricity. It will help in irrigating large areas of lands. It will help in providing irrigation and drinking water to the Saurashtra desert areas and the Kutch deserts. So there are two sides in this particular Andolan as well. But if we look at this Andolan from a neutral aspect, we will see that we need to respect the people living nearby, and we need to respect the environment also, because if environment is harmed, then we are also doomed as human beings, because the environmental problems never differentiate between a rich people or a poor person. If air pollution is happening, the rich person will also get impacted, the poor person will also get impacted. If floods are coming, floods never, turn their way or change their way when they see a huge bungalow. No, they will damage the huge bungalow also, and the floods will damage the slum areas also. Floods are impartial, they are not partial towards the rich or towards the poor. So we need to understand this when we make plans for development in a nation. जब हम प्लान्स बनाते हैं ना, हमें मटीरियलिस्ट होके प्लान्स नहीं बनाने हैं, हमें सारी चीजों को दिमाग में रखकर, एंड प्लस वी नीड टू मेक श्योर दैट वी आर आल्सो मेकिंग द लोकल पीपल पार्टिसिपेट इन आवर प्लान्स. We need to make sure that in a democracy, the voices of everybody is taken into consideration. So development, we know that currently the current model of development that we all countries are following, it has caused high level of environmental degradation. For example, the tsunami that occurred in 2004, I was in, I guess class, I don't remember, but yes, from between class 6 to class 8, I was between this class, specific मुझे याद नहीं है, but 2004 में जब tsunami आई थी, we were, we were kids, so we didn't know the impact of that tsunami. Right? Like the way today that I understand it. Back then I was a little kid. So we were asked to donate food, right? To donate money and clothes, etc. Our clothes, our toys, our books, etc. to the people who were impacted because of tsunami. And we happily did it. But now I understand that this tsunami, this destruction, why it occurred, the root cause was destruction of the mangroves and building of commercial enterprises along the shoreline, and all of this was done in the name of development. ये सब कुछ, ये मैंग्रोव को डिस्ट्रक्ट करना, कमर्शियल एंटरप्राइजेस को समुद्र के तट के किनारे बनाना, ये सब शोर लाइन को खराब करना, डिस्टर्ब करना, ये सब डेवलपमेंट के नाम पर किया जा रहा था, एंड दैट इज व्हाई द वर्ल्ड विटनेस्ड दिस हॉरिफिक इवेंट ऑफ सुनामी. Then we witness global warming. Global warming does not occur only in India. It never says that I'll not go to America, I'll just hit India and Pakistan and Afghanistan and those areas. No, global warming impacts everybody equally. So we need to think, what kind of development are we doing when we see global warming coming, air pollution, decreasing level of groundwater levels? It is not happening on its own. It is happening because of human interference, human desire, unlimited desire. राइट तो ये क्यों हो रहा है? ये सब कुछ ये हो रहा है हमारे डिजायर्स की वजह से, ये हो रहा है हमारी इच्छाओं की वजह से, जो कि जितना हमें चाहिए उससे ज्यादा बढ़ती जा रही हैं. उतना पैर पसारने चाहिए जितनी आपकी चादर है. ये हम कहावत बोलते हैं बट फॉलो बहुत कम लोग करते हैं. And this ecological crisis, trust me my friend, it is not going to differentiate between rich and poor. That is why I still see people buying things and carrying them in polythene bags. That is wrong. Single use plastic has been banned for a reason, my friend. We have to understand that. So our model of development is heavily dependent on increasing the use of energy. Do you understand the amount of petrol that we are using in our cars, how negatively it is impacting the environment? So that is the problem over here. Our model of development is focused and it is heavily dependent on increasing use of non-renewable sources of energy, coal, petroleum, which is not infinite in nature. It is limited, it is finite in nature. So there is a need for adopting broader notion of development right now. Now, when I say broader notion of development, what can be the solutions or alternative ways to measure development in a positive manner? First way is through the Human Development Report, which has been launched by UNDP. It is annually released by UNDP, the United Nations Development Programme, and it ranks countries on basis of their performance on literacy, life expectancy, education level, maternal mortality rates, etc. So Human Development Report, it launches an index called Human Development Index. And this Human Development Index focuses on the basic need approach. So what is the basic need approach? According to this approach, development should be a progress which allows more and more people to make meaningful choices without hurting the environment. ये जो बेसिक नीड अप्रोच है, इसमें ये कहा गया है कि आप अपने बेसिक नीड्स से अवगत हो जाइए, अवेयर, बी अवेयर ऑफ व्हाट एग्जैक्टली इज योर नीड. योर नीड इज नॉट टू purchase very luxurious cars and to show off. No, your need is to travel from one point to another. For that, need of purchasing or buying 10 cars, one car for each family member. It's happening in India also, in America also, and in China, in Japan, and even in Korea. People who are very rich businessmen, they are traveling to their offices on bicycles, thus saving the environment from petroleum. So, cars never should be equated with your prestige or respect or your, money. No. ठीक है, point clear हो गया? So, basic need approach says that more and more people should make meaningful choices. They should be aware of their basic needs. Okay? Basic needs are food, education, health and shelter. These are the basic needs approach. And you must have heard about those slogans, roti, kapda aur makan, garibi hatao, bijli, sadak, pani. All these conveys the same sentiment that you should fulfill your basic needs. Do not go, after running after highly materialistic approaches. No. Alright. And because we do not focus on the basic need approach, that is the reason why so many states or nations are still underdeveloped. And when we talk about the narrow definition of development, where we are only focused on economic progress, right? So in those kind of model of developments, there are many limitations also, disadvantages also. For example, the first disadvantage is huge cost on, when it comes to humans or when it comes to environment. We are paying huge cost. And there is a decrease, when it comes to, equality, there is decrease in the equality or equal distribution among people. There is a high rise or increase of unequal distribution among the people. And the third limitation is that the strategies which have been used by, many nations, most of the nations for, making the nation developed is top down. Now, what do you mean by top down approach? In many nations, for development, the nations are using top down approach. What is top down? That the policies are framed by the top level administrators and executives, and then the decision is conveyed to the local people. So the local people or the citizens are not involved in the decision making progress. This is the top down approach, when all the decisions are taken at the higher level and they are conveyed to the lower level, and the lower level people, decisions are being made for them only, but the lower level people, they are not made to participate in the decision making process. And all the benefits of the decision are reaped by the top level people only. That is the top-down approach. This is the third limitation of the narrow model of development. Thus, we can say that development has become a process which has been designed and implemented by ruling sections of the country only, and they are only benefiting from those kind of development projects. This is the meaning of top-down approach. And we know that in democracy, we need to involve the local level people into the decision-making progress, and that is why In democracy, we follow the right of people to participate in decision making, which allows giving powers and resources to the local bodies so that they can make decisions for their local areas. People have to be consulted. Second important feature of a democracy is people have to be consulted on serious issues which affect their community also when plans or decisions or policies are made for them. So what can be the final solution to all these problems? The first solution is decentralized approach to development, not top-down approach, decentralized approach, horizontal approach you can say, which makes it possible to use various kind of technologies, whether it is traditional technology or modern technology, in creative manner so that all the people at all levels can be, included in the decision making process. And second solution can be to move away from high cost, ecologically wasteful, technology driven notion of development. By saying that I have 2 mobile phones or 3 mobile phones, or by saying that I have an iPhone, does not mean that you are developed, my friend. If you are living in, the heat wave situation of Delhi, then carrying an iPhone is not going to prove that you are developed. आपके पास एक iPhone है, आपके पास MacBook Pro है, इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि आप developed हो यार. अगर आप heat wave की situation face कर रहे हो दिल्ली में, तो इसका मतलब आप सबसे ज्यादा अंडर डेवलप्ड हो, क्योंकि जान से पहले आप मटेरियलिस्टिक चीजों को नहीं रख सकते. सेइंग दैट यू हैव स्टडीड इन अ वेरी प्रेस्टिजियस कॉलेज और स्कूल, but knowing that many of the people in your own state or in your own area cannot afford to go to that college does not mean that the country is developed. Okay, efforts should be made to conserve natural resources. Saying that I have 10 cars does not mean that you are developed because you are harming the environment. Such activities have to take place at a local level, and the decision has to be made locally because citizens know what's best for them. So any development project, program, policy that is implemented, we need to involve the people also. That is the essence of democracy. And there is a need to scale down our need for non-renewable resources by changing your lifestyle. Yes, it is tricky. It cannot be very easily acceptable, but it would mean that you will have to make sure that a debate is conducted wherein everybody in the society should participate, and then together you should decide what kind of lifestyle changes can you bring, or you can inculcate in your life so that development can be ensured. For example, do not throw anything on the road, right? तो सेफ्टी और हाइजीन इससे मेंटेन होती है. प्राइम मिनिस्टर मोदी जी, ही इज फॉलोइंग द प्रिंसिपल ऑफ स्वच्छ भारत, राइट, स्वच्छता, एंड दैट इज व्हाई ही क्रिएटेड दिस स्वच्छ भारत अभियान. And that is why still many students I have seen, many people I have seen in my own family, in my own neighborhood, when they by mistake throw something on the road, they go back and they collect that waste and they throw it in their own dustbins. Right? So we need to make sure that we decide, we sit together and we decide together what is good for us, what is bad for us, and what is bad for the environment. And then we should make any policy or program or decision. We should adopt democratic methods of decision making. Right? So idea of development is the desire for a better life. But it should not be done at the cost of your own life or at the cost of the environment. So this was your chapter on development. Now these are the homework questions that you have to complete. Explain the definition of development and discuss if with the help of your definition, all the sections of society would benefit. So here you have to explain your own opinion on what is development, your own view on what exactly according to you is development. And using your definition, can we make sure that all the sections of the society, whether rich or poor, urban or rural, will benefit from your definition or not? And you can give examples as well. Second question, what are some of the new claims of rights which the process of development has generated? Because of now the process of development that we are following in our nation, what kind of new claims of rights have come? The rights to healthy environment, clean water, safe environment, all these rights are coming up in the process of development when we are most focused on modernizing the society, right? Or increasing industrialization or increasing the materialistic way of life. right? In all this process of development, we are harming the environment, and that is why new claims of rights are coming up. Right to safe water, access to safe water, right to hygiene, etc. So you can mention those rights, why those rights are coming up, why those claims are coming up, okay, in the current process of development. What would be the advantage of democracy over other forms of government for ensuring that decisions regarding development are made to promote common good? Very easy question. Now here you have to explain how in dictatorship people are not involved in the decision making process, and how in democracy people local level, bodies are involved in the process of decision making. How top down approach is used in most of the nations, and how in pure democracy top down approach is eradicated, and in democracy how decision is taken so that everybody benefits from that decision. Question number 4, discuss the social and ecological cost of the kind of development which have been pursued in most countries. In countries, narrower definition of development have been followed, and because of it humans have suffered, environment has suffered. So you will give examples of that. ठीक है, आप इसमें examples दोगे कि क्या क्या हुआ है. Tsunami you can mention, global warming you can mention, right? Then poverty you can mention, inequality you can mention. All right, so this is how you have to frame your answer. So I hope you enjoyed this lecture today. उम्मीद करती हूँ आपको अच्छा लगा ये last chapter आपका. ठीक है, from tomorrow we are going to start with another NCERT of class 11th on Indian polity.